the next talk is by Katie Jolly, designing graphics to post online, both on Twitter and miraculously on Reddit. Katie.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Katie. So today I'll talk a little bit about some tips that I have for getting helpful data visualization critiques online. The link for the slides is on here, as well as my Twitter handle. So as I was working on this talk, I decided that a good alternative title was why and how should we do data visualization critiques? And one thing that's been mentioned many times today is that our users aren't really designers, which I generally agree with and I think is perfectly fine. Everyone has different skills. That being said, I think we can take a lot of lessons from critiques in the design world. By this, I mean the process by which you get feedback on in-progress work. I really love posting data visualizations online, mostly on my Twitter account, but I've had a few things posted from my Twitter to Reddit. And I find that this is a great way to get feedback from other people. Often people have expertise in areas that are new to me or that I want to learn more about. Today, I'll talk a little bit about these lessons with some examples of comments from social media. If social media isn't your thing, that is also fine. I think these lessons can be applied to presenting in-progress work at our meetups, in Work Slack, or any other forum for sharing your projects. And if you'd like to follow along with these slides with the transcript, there's another version of the slides at the link here. So these are two examples from the 30-day map challenge in November 2020. I aimed to make a few maps in only a few hours each, time flies, and just did as many days as I could. I think I did a little bit less than 10 in the end. My suburbs map, the one on the bottom, showing people's perception of whether they live in a suburban, urban, or rural area, was very popular and was posted in a few places, including a popular subreddit for maps, which gave me tons of examples of helpful and not as helpful comments. So I think the most important lesson to remember here is that not all criticism, especially that which is posted online, is helpful or correct by any means. If you're giving critiques for someone else, you should first see if they're actually interested in hearing that critique. And above all, be kind. Even if you don't love someone else's work, give suggestions rather than exclusively criticisms. And remember that your opinion, say what to highlight or what type of chart to use, isn't always correct. And this one can be tough to remember. All right, so with that, let's go into some lessons I've learned via the comment section. So people love to find themselves and compare themselves to others, especially when it's a map. This is the first lesson one of the first lessons I've really learned. So when I made this map, I wasn't really sure what would come of it. As it turns out, and this wasn't surprising, what clicked the most for users was finding an area familiar to them and relating their own experience. People had so many thoughts on what should and shouldn't be classified a certain way. And many other people had personal experiences that related to the map, and they shared them in interesting stories in the comments. And people engage much more in things that they can relate to. So second thing is that when you're posting something online, I quickly found that people weren't always taking away the messages that I wanted them to. You know, I wasn't there to explain it. One of the most common critical comments I got on this map was, hey, there's no way insert area here should be 100% suburban. This is a mistake. To me, the legend was clear and also made in a few minutes, so bear with me here. The labels were right aligned, thus marking the upper limit of each category. A block with the darkest color in a category is anywhere from 80 to 100%, not exactly 100. This was very unclear to a lot of readers, and more labels would have helped tremendously. Similarly, I should have noted that white areas in the map were no data. So another thing I've learned is that you should always share your code because people may have tips you never thought to ask for. I created a public GitHub repository for all my work, and I was not expecting people to really look at it. I was pleasantly surprised to see a pull request come in that filtered out my data before I read it in, whereas I had been filtering it after, and that saved a ton of time, and I wouldn't have learned that otherwise. And then lastly, there are many people online with niche insights. So for example, someone came across this map and let me know that it was missing a few observations that I don't think that I would have found otherwise. And he did it in a very constructive way, and I learned a lot from it. So those are my biggest tips. Some other reading on how to effectively post things online and get feedback, such as how to make your images accessible for giving feedback, how to do critiques, and some examples of critiques that are on YouTube. And I always welcome any comments via Twitter DMs or anything else. Thanks.